If I had to sum up today's video in a single word, it would be entitlement. But this is one of those scenarios where nobody can seem to agree who exactly is being entitled. You've got a massive pop star saying some of her fans are in the wrong, some of those fans are saying she's in the wrong, and it's raising a lot of questions about mental health, stalking, and what exactly celebrities owe us, if anything at all. I realize I said that really nonchalantly, but stalking does play like a really big part in this discourse, which I feel like people are being weirdly casual about. You'll see what I mean. But first, welcome. My name is D'Angelo, and I am your professor of metaphysical kinesiology, which is a very real degree that I definitely do have. Or maybe I'm just broadcasting myself talking in my room like YouTube used to be. And in today's lecture, I thought we'd look at Chappell Roan, the newly minted pop star who just released a blistering call out to a subset of her fans who she says crossed the line. But a subset of those fans seems to believe that she may be overreacting. So we'll look at the whole situation, not just to see who's in the right, but also to explore the darker angle that underpins this entire conversation. I may be biased because I too have my own subset of secret admirers like Dave here. But jokes aside, even though discourse about parasocial behavior and fans has been raging on forever, it just got ratcheted up to 11 because Chappell's call out this week was like the most blunt I have ever seen anybody be to their own fan base. Thus, people are kind of split. So let's take a look. So one really key part of this story that sets Chappell Roan apart from other people who have been in similar situations is just how quickly she has grown her fan base. In fact, at a glance, it might seem like she kind of just came out of nowhere this year as a fully formed pop star, but it turns out this has been in the works for a long time. Even 4 years ago, you could find her posting music videos for her pop songs, but at the time they were flying under the radar, and I described this period as her releasing a bunch of hidden gems. And her musical aspirations go back even further than that. One weekend I was playing coffee shops, and the next weekend I was signed to Atlantic Records. But even though getting a record deal at 17 years old was a really good start, she unfortunately wound up getting dropped in 2020. So getting what you want super young and then losing it right in the middle of the pandemic might have stopped some people, but Chappell was not to be dissuaded. Instead, she decided to go the independent route. So you get tracks like this from 2 years ago where she may not have had the big label budget behind her, but she was working really hard to establish her image, her sound, her fan base. And at that point, she was kind of like your favorite pop star's favorite pop star. She may not have been pulling numbers, but her instantly recognizable style was garnering a small but very dedicated fan base. She's got such a lovely voice. She really deserves success, says this Reddit user 3 years ago. And I really wonder how that person feels now, because I feel like not even they could have predicted the level of success that was about to come Chappell's way. So even though the deal with Atlantic Records fell through, she was able to get a publishing deal with Sony a couple years later. And by the time we got to this year, a few things happened back to back that instantly cemented her pop star status. Olivia Rodrigo went on tour this year, and Chappell Roan was one of her opening acts. That's obviously a huge opportunity, or a dream come true, as Chappell said. But Rodrigo's stage wasn't the only huge platform she was about to get. She performed live on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, and incidentally, this is actually where I first heard of her. I had never heard like a single song, but then this performance popped up, I watched it, and she got me, like instantly. I had already figured her music must be nice with so many people being drawn to it, but I had no idea the voice that she was working with. I feel like so few people nowadays are performers. So watching her hit this song so hard that Colbert is like, no, just stay there on the floor. You've done enough. You will very rarely hear me say this, but I get the hype. So you got that performance racking up millions of views, and then you have this one, 6.3 million views on her NPR Tiny Desk. As far as I'm concerned, you get yourself a Tiny Desk set, you've basically made it in my mind. And seeing her there with lipstick on her teeth and cigarettes in her hair really just made people go, who is this? And it's safe to say she found her people, because if you go to Spotify's top 50 USA charts today, you've got this Chappell song. Here she is again at number 10, number 12, 15, 31. And the way Spotify runs this chart, when you see it says 2 million plays, that's not lifetime, that's just yesterday. Her album, called The Rise and Fall of a Midwest Princess, has just completely blown up. We're talking tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of plays for every single song. And yes, as you can see, I do have one of them saved. I would say Red Wine Supernova is my second favorite Chappell Roan song. We'll get to my fave in a second, but I want to say, the thing about streaming, it doesn't always mean you're actually famous. A lot of songs go viral on TikTok, or they perform really well on Spotify, but then artists have trouble sticking that landing. But clearly Chappell Roan was not one of those artists, seeing as she may have had the biggest Lollapalooza set of all time, according to CNN. They included an image, which I'm not even sure why, because there are so many people watching her perform, they don't even really look like people. Like, look at this. This is absolutely absurd. All of these people are singing along to her song. So it's not just streaming success and live show success, it's also translated to Billboard chart success. And I think right now might actually be the biggest Chappell's been so far because her album just peaked at number 2. Honestly, Chappell Roan is like 2 success stories at the same time. You could call it a years-long story of getting dropped from your record label as a teenager to being right behind Taylor Swift at age 26. Or you can view it as earlier this year going from an incredibly niche fan base to, again, being right behind Taylor Swift within the span of just a few months. And to put it simply, I feel like this Vox article summed it up the best. Chappell Roan spent 7 years becoming an overnight success. So I share Chappell's backstory not just because I find it fascinating, but because I also think it really explains her frustration. For years and years, she was operating at a pretty small scale, but only within the last few months has she turned into this global phenomenon. That obviously came with a bunch of positives, but Chappell was also finding out just how overwhelming this could be. It's not all just flashy TV show performances, there's also moments like this.
I just feel a little off today because I think that my career's just kind of gone really fast and it's really hard to keep up. I'm just having a hard time today.
She finds it overwhelming, but she's still very obviously grateful.
This is all I've ever wanted. It's just heavy sometimes.
Now, this is the part where I'm going to ask you not to laugh at me, but I think I know the feeling she's referring to. Obviously, I do not have the number 2 album in the world. I'm not a celebrity, I'm not famous, I just make videos on the internet like so many people do, but sometimes those videos do really well, and sometimes my channel grows really quickly. And as grateful as I am, I just have to emphasize, being watched can be very nerve-wracking. Being perceived at all is sometimes a lot, and as grateful as I am when that happens, it is in fact overwhelming at times. I would say for me, 95% of the time, this is genuinely how I feel when I upload YouTube videos. Like, I'm just out there, everybody's having fun, I love what I'm doing. But I think it's completely normal to feel like this at least some of the time. If anything, I would almost think anybody would feel like this some of the time. So on the surface, I do feel like I sort of relate to her energy, but at the same time, absolutely not, because things are like 100 times worse for her. Because thankfully, some people watching me online does not translate to actual stalking.
People start to be freaks.
Yeah,
they follow me.
Yeah, they follow
and like
you around.
follow like know where my parents live and like where's my sister work. This is the time when I was like a few years ago that I said if stalker vibes, like family was in danger, is when I would quit. And like we're there.
I can't emphasize this enough, but what she's referring to is stalking. There's no creative interpretation. Chappell Roan is genuinely being stalked by some of her fans.
I've like pumped the brakes on honestly anything to like make me more known.
And even in this interview, you can see her struggling with the idea of, should I continue? How do I stop this from happening? And I guess over these last few months, as things have been blowing up and all of these questions have been weighing on her mind, she finally came to a conclusion. Chappell's answer was to release a statement, which she put out in a 2-part TikTok video. And despite only taking up 2 minutes, she gets her point across very sharply.
If you saw a random woman on the street, would you yell at her from the car window? Would you harass her in public? Would you go up to a random lady and say, can I get a photo with you? And she's like, no. And then you get mad at this random lady?
I kind of really appreciate the setup of this entire video. She opens with a hypothetical to get people thinking, and then she tries to get them to think about why that behavior would be wrong.
Would you be offended if she says no to your time because she has her own time? Would you stalk her family? Would you follow her around?
One would hope everyone's answer to that would be no, we would not treat a random person like this. And so Chappell's assertion here is that she is that random person.
I'm a random You're a random. Just think about that for a second, okay?
So I feel like she definitely got her point across in the first part, but the second one is where she really refused to mince words.
I don't care that abuse and harassment, stalking, whatever, is a normal thing to do to people who are famous or a little famous, whatever.
I think the a little famous days are behind her at this point, but obviously we know what she means.
I don't care that it's normal. I don't care that this crazy type of behavior comes along with the job, the career field I've chosen.
She has chosen this in some ways, but by this, I'm only referring to the pop star career and not the part where you get stalked by random strangers.
I don't give a If you think it's selfish of me to say no for a photo or for your time or for a hug, that's not normal. That's weird.
People are gonna have a lot of opinions about the ask for a photo, ask for a hug thing, but we'll get there.
It's weird how people think that you know a person just because you see them online or you listen to the art they make. I'm allowed to say no to creepy behavior, okay?
And that's it. 0 comments on either video because she closed them. But seeing as both parts got over 10 million views each, and then the headlines started coming out because again, this is kind of a big deal that such a big artist is being so blunt. And it's literally impossible to guess how many people have seen this because just this one tweet repost has almost 40 million views. People were obviously still going to talk about the video, comments enabled or not. So let's see what they were saying. Well, she does not owe y'all anything. It doesn't matter how famous she is. Knowing she did take pictures with random people, she can rightfully not be in the mood and decline stuff. So as you can see, the support is there. I would actually say Chappell's getting a lot of support on her statements. And I like the fact that this person brought up, even if she does take pictures with people occasionally, that doesn't obligate her to do so every time. I would take it a step further and say just because asking celebrities for pictures is a thing people do, nothing a celebrity has done really makes it your right to take up their time in any way. As Chappell said, it is literally her time. Wait, she's kind of real for this. I don't know. Celebrities shouldn't receive backlash for trying to establish basic boundaries. I like this one a lot because this person really highlights the same thing I thought Chappell was trying to do. It was very clear from her crying on stage or her talking about slowing down in the interview that something had to give. And it was kind of sad because for a second there, it seemed like it was going to be her career, like she was just going to stop. But her statement is her trying something else, trying to make it work before just stepping back completely. This person brought up another artist who's been in a similar scenario. Doja Cat has been trying to tell you guys this, but you took it the wrong way because of her way of saying it. But it's true. This parasocial relationship where you think they owe you something for supporting them is not normal. Doja Cat has obviously done a lot that people criticize her for. I've criticized her for it in a video. She's done stuff after that video that's worth critiquing. But what I wanted to make really clear in that video was I did not agree with the fans who were mad at her for telling them they don't know her. And if Doja didn't say it the right way or Chappell didn't say it the right way, because as you're going to see, not everybody is so supportive, it really raises the question of, is there a nice way of telling people that they're being completely delusional? In my opinion, there absolutely isn't. So you should just say it with your whole chest the way both of these women have done. Some fans feel so entitled sometimes. These celebrities don't really know them. I was glad to see that Chappell's statement did at least seem to go over better than Doja Cat's, but not everybody was in agreement. I don't know how to feel about this because she's right. She has every right to say no. But asking people for a picture or a hug respectfully isn't creepy behavior. I think there's a lot of cognitive dissonance here because literally everyone knows that asking for a hug is creepy behavior. Like there's literally memes about those guys who are just like, where my hug at? They are pretty much unanimously agreed upon to be like jerks. But if you change the context where the woman in question is famous, people suddenly think that this is not how they're coming across. But I'm here to tell you that this is exactly how you're coming across. It doesn't matter if you're a chappell roan fan or a random person. Personal space is never to be invaded, as far as I'm concerned. Don't ask to invade a stranger's personal space for any reason. You may know all the lyrics to Good Luck Babe, but I promise you, this person is still a stranger. Also, by you know all the lyrics to Good Luck Babe, I mean I know all the lyrics to Good Luck Babe because that is actually my favorite Chappell Roan song, which I think is currently her biggest song of all right now. Like the popularity is crazy. There's just something about that bridge. Anyway, as far as asking for pictures, I personally don't consider that to be creepy behavior. However, I do hope we both understand that it's still abnormal behavior, right? Just like one person has the right to say, I'm totally fine with this abnormal behavior. It doesn't really bother me. Chappell has every right to say, no, it's not normal. Also, she was obviously more upset at the fact that people get mad at her when she declines than she was at the fact that people are asking for pictures. But anyways, I'm not really a fan of this line of thinking. One thing I saw a lot of people mentioning was like, okay, regardless of how you feel about it, this is just the way things are. Unfortunately, celebrity worship is alive and well, and it's not going anywhere anytime soon. I worry that this industry isn't for her, or rather, the way the industry is set up isn't for her. And I don't think these people are coming at this from a place of trying to be unhelpful, but the way I see it, The only way this is going to change is if people like Chappell Roan make videos like that. The only reason things don't change is when people just allow them to continue the way they've always been. So sure, it's part of the territory, but I promise you, just Chappell making that TikTok is going to get us a lot closer to the right direction than her just quitting music or continuing to put up with a bunch of stuff that makes her uncomfortable. The thing about Chappell Roan that bugs me is that she's pretending like nothing is supposed to change when her level of fame changes. Yes, people encroach upon your space and that's bad, but people have been speculating about celebs for over a century. Set the boundaries you need to set, but pretending like you're still a regular person is weird. Your life has changed. That sentiment was really popular. A lot of people are agreeing, but I truly feel like those people were missing Chappell's point. I mean, Chappell did not claim not to be famous. She called herself a random person, not a regular person. Obviously, being a pop star is not regular, but actually, I'm just gonna say Chappell Roan is a regular person. It really doesn't matter how famous somebody is. They're going to have regular person thoughts and regular person reactions to things. You are a regular person even if you have a highly irregular job. So I personally was not getting the vibe that Chappell was pretending to be anything. And comments like this kind of prove why she needed to assert the fact that she is in fact a random person. So I guess the responses I just looked at, I would describe as having mixed feelings towards her video. But beyond the support and the ambivalence, there were a lot of people who just straight up hated it. You're fighting with Taylor Swift for the #1 spot in the world on the charts right now. I mean, technically, she's only fighting with Taylor Swift on the Billboard albums chart, which is only for the United States. But, you know, you've got an American pretending like they live in the center of the universe. Must be a day that ends in Y. I mean, low-key, the US kind of is the center of the universe, but obviously that's not because America is just so great. It's because I live here. But anyways, you're fighting for Taylor Swift for the #1 spot in the world on the charts right now. When you reach that status, you no longer get to be a random person. So either stop chasing that dream now that is within arm's reach or get used to the fact that you are now a star. I think this right here is probably the clearest sign of entitlement I've seen in all of these responses. The phrase, "you no longer get to be a random person," is crazy because a random person in this case basically just means a person. I feel like Chappell's whole video was like, hey, I am in fact a human being. And I truly do not believe this ultimatum of give up on your success or just put up with the way people are treating you is appropriate in any way. And when stuff like this has hundreds of likes, sure, that may not match the 40 million views on Chappell's video, but imagine hundreds of people who think like this, even just being in Chappell's orbit. We've also got people making it a generational thing because this is some people's personality. That's not how celebrity life works. You're either in or out. This generation is so soft. And this seems like a great place to reiterate the fact that she was literally being stalked. If this was only about pictures, maybe the video would be a bit of an overreaction. But there's nothing soft about not wanting to be shouted at, followed, having your family members followed, random people asking to touch you, and then potentially getting mad if you decline. And for Chappell to even post a video like that, knowing that there's going to be a ton of people out here calling her out for it, I'm pretty sure Chappell's not just stronger than this person's giving her credit for, but probably stronger than them as well. So entitled. Obviously, stalking or bullying isn't fine, but to kind of mix regular fans asking for a picture as abuse or harassment is just weird. What is actually just weird is tone policing people when they are bringing up legitimate concerns. There's just no part of her statement that could be interpreted as entitled, in my opinion. Believing oneself to be inherently deserving of privileges or special treatment. People respecting your time shouldn't be a privilege that you lose just because you got famous. I don't think one individual person asking you for a photo is harassment by any means, but when multiple people are asking you to do the same thing, I do personally see it as like a form of collective accidental harassment. No one individual is trying to really take up that much of Chappell's day, but you add them all together and it's obvious how this could get overwhelming. I saw this one come up a lot. I kind of think she's not really cut out to be a pop girly. Absolutely nobody is cut out to be a pop star if the working definition of fame is that it is normal for people to follow you. Just because some people might seem good at putting up with it doesn't really mean anything. In fact, hands down, my least favorite tweet I saw out of all of this, which has like the most likes, has this person posting a video of Taylor Swift and it says, "That's why Taylor's at the top of the game 17 years later. This is a message to you, Chappell, from an 18-year-old. And so in this video, we have Taylor Swift, I guess a very long time ago, talking about how she was putting up with fame as a very young person.
There are a lot of people complaining about being celebrities and they're like, It's so hard because I can't even go shopping anymore without people asking for my autograph all the time, and everybody's always staring at me, and my life is so hard. I just feel like you have to have a perception change.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna be so for real right now. What Taylor is about to say is like the definition of cope. This clip actually makes me so sad because I hear a young person just trying to convince herself that what is happening to her should be considered normal.
You have to focus on thinking about it in the perspective of, I'm gonna go shopping right now. It's not going to take the amount of time that it used to take before people knew who I was. It's going to take double. And I'm cool with that because this is what I wanted. And I'm one of the lucky people who actually got what they wanted in life. And it's a good thing.
Is this not kind of heartbreaking, or am I just overreacting here?
You can't look at it as an inconvenience or else you'll feel inconvenienced nonstop. Like, it's so much fun for me because when I'm driving down the road in Nashville, like, people are being dangerous with like driving up next to my car with their camera phone and like trying to drive and trying to take a picture. And I'm like, oh my God, it's so much fun for me.
I have no idea what would possess somebody to think that that clip is a gotcha against Chappell Roan. And normally I would not accuse somebody of just like capping with no evidence. But you can actually see how Taylor's opinion has changed over the years. This does not make her happy. This Twitter account, Wishes Came True, basically collected all these clips. It's really extensive. Yes, in 2009, she was saying things like, oh, a line is gonna form in front of the table. But didn't I always used to wish for that? Yes, I did. But as you scroll on down this thread, you'll very quickly see how she starts to change her tune. And by 2015, that fun she was having seems to have turned into legitimate fear.
I do have moments where I get really scared, like who's like trying to take pictures in my hotel room window. Like, you live your life with the blinds drawn, like in every room you go into. And that's the part that kind of gets to me.
Ain't no way y'all gonna sit here and try to make this like a fight between two women when one of the women in question does not even agree with what you're saying. By 2019, she was talking about how she was thinking about quitting. I felt like the situation was pretty hopeless. I wrote a lot of really aggressively bitter poems constantly. And by last year, Taylor's out here saying one of her songs is about, quote, how horrible being famous is. And so here's the thing. Do we all need to sit around and cry because it's difficult for, you know, a billionaire, or in Chappell Roan's case, a very successful person? No, we really don't. I don't think it requires any emotional labor on your part. However, Chappell saying, don't follow me, don't stalk my family, asking for pictures is abnormal, and you better not get mad if I say no. She has not asked you to feel sorry for her for being famous. There's absolutely no entitlement to be found anywhere, except for in the fans who think that she should have worded her statement better, or who really think that she should have done anything when she owes them nothing. According to the Oxford English Dictionary, we have been calling out parasocial relationships for almost 70 years. In 1956, the term was coined. One of the striking characteristics of the new mass media, radio, television, and the movies, is that they give the illusion of face-to-face relationship with the performer. A parasocial relationship. In 1956, we knew that this was an illusion. I think this is one of those issues that has actually gotten so much worse than it used to be. And why have we been talking about this literally forever with like no progress? I think it's because celebrities did not feel comfortable calling it out. Here's Lady Gaga 7 years ago talking about how this makes her feel.
As soon as I go out into the world, I belong in a way to everyone else. It's legal to follow me. It's legal to stalk me at the beach.
Lady Gaga would have been well within her right to say, and it shouldn't be. But she did not, because when celebrities speak out, it always turns into a thing. I belong to everyone else is crazy. That is like her highlighting the entitlement that everybody has. And there was nothing wrong with her statement or what she said, but because there wasn't that added layer of calling people out for this, people continue to think it's okay. It's not Lady Gaga's fault. It's just the way this entire thing has been framed forever. But finally, people are saying something. You've got Chappell, you've got Doja. Halsey actually recently had to call out her own fans. My own fans are hands down meaner to me than any other people on the planet. Not speaking for all of you, of course. She goes on to say it makes her want to crawl in a hole and she regrets coming back. And so complaining because you're rich and famous, yeah, that's entitlement. But saying, hey, the way that people seem to think they actually have a God-given right to be mean to me because they listen to my music ever, there's absolutely nothing wrong with bringing that up. Also, I hate to push this in a darker direction, but I feel like there's this extra context that nobody is talking about for some reason. With Taylor Swift having stalkers actually detained at various concert dates, and the fact that people have tried to break into this woman's house, one person succeeded in doing so. Why is nobody saying, hey, it is totally okay for Chappell to be wary of her fans? Individual people do not represent an entire fan base. Obviously, Swiftie does not equal stalker, but how in the world could Taylor differentiate between a Swiftie and a stalker just by looking at them? And the same goes for any celebrity. Chappell doesn't know if the people yelling at her, following her, have good intentions or not. Not that your intentions even matter if you are literally stalking somebody. I'm not gonna sit here and just start listing off really gruesome stories that ended terribly, but entitlement is dangerous. Chappell, Taylor, Lady Gaga, none of these people are immune from the danger of the attitude that they belong to the world. I don't even feel like me making it about safety issues is a reach, but I haven't really seen anybody talk about it in that way. Okay, so I was literally in the middle of forcing Dave to edit this video, and we saw that Chappell actually posted like an update. I had Googled like Chappell Roan so I could find a picture of her for the thumbnail, and it was like, Chappell Roan posts another scathing statement towards fans. And so this is from 3 hours ago, but she's kind of talking about what I was trying to get at right there. I turned off comments because I'm not looking for anyone's response. This isn't a group conversation. I understand that this is jarring to hear from a person in my position. I'm not afraid of the consequences for demanding respect. Just to let you know, every woman is feeling or has felt similar to what I'm experiencing. So the statement she posted is kind of long, so I'm flipping through right now if you want to pause and read, but I'm just going to go over the ones that really apply. And the fact that she even had to make another statement because so many people were dragging her is just insane. So she said, I've been in too many non-consensual physical and social interactions, and I just need to lay it out and remind you, women don't owe you anything. I do not accept harassment of any kind because I chose this path, nor do I deserve it. And so she goes on to basically explain that when she's performing, she's at work, she's on. But when she's not performing, she is not at work. Clocked out, as she says. I don't agree with the notion that I owe a mutual exchange of energy, time, or attention to people I do not know, do not trust, or who creep me out just because they're expressing admiration. Women do not owe you a reason why they don't want to be touched or talked to. This has nothing to do with the gratitude and love I feel for my community, for the people who respect my boundaries. I'm specifically talking about predatory behavior disguised as superfan behavior. If you're still asking, well, if you didn't want this to happen, then why'd you choose a career, blah, blah, blah. I embrace the success of the project, the love I feel, and the gratitude I have. What I do not accept are creepy people being touched and being followed. She makes it really clear that, like, victim blaming a woman who is basically begging people not to invade her personal space is insane. Please stop touching me. Please stop being weird to my family and friends. I feel the most unsafe I have ever felt in my life. There is a part of myself that is just for me, and I don't want that taken away from me. In the caption, she says, if my entire statement upsets you, baby, that's you. You gotta look inward and ask yourself, wait, why am I so upset by this? Why is a girl expressing her fears and boundaries so infuriating? That is all. Thanks for reading, heart emoji. Anyway, Chappell explained it better than I could, but that was kind of what I was alluding to here. This whole thing has just been reading as a safety issue to me. And the fact that 3 hours ago she just came out and confirmed that that was underpinning her need to come forward just says a lot. Anyway, I'll end it with a lighthearted take, don't worry. This one was actually my favorite. On a human level, if I became as famous as Chappell Roan as quickly as she did, I would become the Joker within like 2 days. And this tweet really illustrates like 2 things for me. First of all, it's very clear that a lot of the people criticizing her are not engaging with her on a human level, which is absurd. And secondly, all things considered, I think Chappell Roan is handling this perfectly as far as I'm concerned. I don't think she should have changed her statement. I'm glad she put it out. I don't care that people are mad about it. I genuinely can't point to any one thing she's done or said in regards to this issue that I think was handled poorly. And frankly, it kind of reminds me of that meme where it's like they hated Jesus because he told them the truth. A lot of people are failing to make good arguments for what's wrong with what she said because they don't actually have one. Her whole statement just hit a little too close to home, and all they can do is vaguely criticize elements of it. Obviously, I don't think Chappell Roan is Jesus. I know she is. But jokes aside, I think the only entitlement here is the fact that she is literally entitled to her own privacy, peace of mind, etc. And just because this is the way things are, doesn't mean that's the way things should remain. But that change is not going to happen unless people start very critically reevaluating the way they think about celebrities. But anyway, that's my take on the situation. Dave's take on the situation is that if Chappell really doesn't want her pop star career, she should just just give it to him and we should all stream Rise and Fall of an Italian statue? And I'm interested in your take. I mean, this is the part of the video where a layman would ask you to subscribe and leave a comment and like the video, but I will ask you to enroll, evaluate the video, and submit your feedback, because I am of course running a 100% completely, totally, all the way, somewhat not, maybe unaccredited university. Definitely. Just ask anybody in the student body and they'll confirm it for you. We're totally legit. And as for me, whether you'll see me in 24 hours or 24 months is anyone's guess, but until then, thank you for watching. Your homework for today is to stream Good Luck Babe by Chappell Roan and then let me know if it was your vibe.